Hi there, it's Sharon Hess, and I am the author of Spiritual Spice. Now, I've told people this story, and I personally think it's a beautiful story, and so I wanted to do a video and share it with Oral. I started putting this book together a couple of years ago, and my oldest brother, Ron, my late brother, Ron, was the editor of the book, and he helped lay it out and everything else. Now, Ron and I both discovered A Course in Miracles at the same time. And anyone who knows me knows that A Course in Miracles was the beginning of my spiritual path. And Ron was one who studied many different things. I'd love to say he was a seeker in life. And he was just brilliant when it came to metaphysical, spiritual type things. Very quiet about it. You know, the opposite of me, I'm an extrovert. He was very much an introvert when it came to that type of thing. But any of the classes or anything that he was in, he would sit back and listen and observe, and then had this brilliant insight when it came time to have it. Now, Ron had decided he was going to move to Arizona. That's where I live. And he was in New Orleans. I'm originally from New Orleans, and I've been here for several years now in Arizona. So he decided he was going to move here, and I went through finding a place and, doing all of this and getting everything ready and organized for him to come. And he was getting on the train on a Saturday, and he went to church the Sunday before. He also, he did Buddhist meditations, and he went to the Young Society, and he did all these wonderful things. But he also was a member of a Methodist church. And he went to church, and he had a wonderful time. They gave him a certificate of appreciation, and, that meant so much to him because he mentioned it to me a couple of times afterwards. But anyway, so he fell when he was at church. And when he got home, he couldn't get out of his car and walk. So he called an ambulance, and he ended up in the hospital. And as it turned out, I'm just going to shorten it here, but basically, long story short, he had a tumor on his femur. That's why his leg broke. And it was malignant, but it was not bone cancer, so they knew it was from somewhere else. And it turned out that he had it in his esophagus. He had a huge tumor in his esophagus that he wasn't even aware of. So he ended up in a nursing home, and he in a wheelchair because he couldn't walk. And because, I don't know if it was because of the cancer, but anyway, the bone wasn't healing. But the beautiful thing about it, and probably a lot of you are going, what can you find beautiful in that? It was a marvelous, inspiring journey of accepting death while he was still alive. And I was so blessed to be able to have many wonderful, deep level conversations and actually experiencing, not just on an intellectual level, but actually understanding and having that feeling of how you could find joy in the moment and how you could accept the moment and the moment only. And the whole journey to laying down the body. And we talked about this a lot. We talked about it a ton. So in a few minutes, I'll tell you about his death. And it was really a beautiful experience. And I think it's something that all of us should learn in life, that it doesn't have to be a struggle, and that it can be just the transition. Spiritual people, we talk about we don't like to say death or dying, and I'm okay with that. But we talk about transitioning. But we don't really, I don't think, feel it and grasp it on a full emotional level of what that means, okay? So anyway, so I had this book, and Ron was the editor. Like I said, I had everything. It was laid out. I had people read it, give me things on the back. But I just never could pull it together, no matter what I did. And, I'm a smart woman. I help people create $1 million businesses, right? And I couldn't get this book pulled together. And I have another book that I had published before, so it wasn't like I didn't understand it. It just never worked. And there were other things I think with that, in the fact that, to me, this was just easy breezy stuff. Oh, nobody would like that, nobody would want that. But the most amazing thing to me is that people now, when they have the book, they'll open it, they'll read their message, and they're always like, oh my God, it fits. Okay. So it wasn't really me and it wasn't really him. This is actually a gift from the universe, I feel. Okay. So I knew he was going to die, right? And I never really thought about this or paid attention to the book. And sometime in February, I don't know why, I just thought, even if I don't do anything with this book, even if I don't ever publish it, I'm going to get the cover made and I'm going to see if I can get a proof copy so Ron can see this book before he dies. Okay. So I had been to, this is the photo here, by the way, is Antelope Canyon. And the September before, my son had given me a tour of Antelope Canyon as a birthday gift. And if you don't know what it is, go look it up online and look at the pictures. It's on Navajo land, and it's kind of like a labyrinth that you go through. Beautiful, beautiful. Probably one of the most photographed places on Earth. Well, not on Earth, but anyway, whatever. And anyway, so I decided, oh my God, that would make a wonderful cover. So I had the cover created, and then I thought, okay, so how am I going to do this? And so, I'll go publish, I'll go put it on Amazon. And it was like dominoes falling. It was like everything just became easy. And the universe would show me my part in the equation was to pay attention and to put forth the effort, which effort is just action. Take the action and do it. So I got the book uploaded on Amazon, and I sent him a proof copy. Well, Sundays were always relevant in his life, I guess. I never thought about that until saying this. So Sunday, he wanted to go to a service at a church near where his nursing home was, because we had a stepbrother who passed away several years ago that had left money to this church to be renovated, and they were doing the dedication ceremony. So he really wanted to go. And his pastor from the church that he went to, it's a woman named Karen, beautiful, beautiful woman. I am so thankful to God for her and that she helped all of this happen and come to pass. So Karen was the pastor of the church that he went to. And it just so happened, this was the Sunday before Mardi Gras. Now in New Orleans, there are parades that sometimes will be in front of churches, and so they can't have service that Sunday, and that's what this was. So he actually went to the service. Now, because Karen came, he could go on the handicap bus, but you have to have someone to push you, right? So Karen came, she pushed him, he got to the church. There's a little bit more to it, but he could get in the front door, he couldn't get inside. They actually took doors off the hinges to get him inside. There were several ministers there that were, to dedicate the building. They prayed, they laid hands on him, they anointed him. And when he got back to the nursing home, he couldn't swallow. So he had to go to the hospital. Now, when he got to the hospital, they replaced the stent, and that's the thing in his throat that was helping him be able to swallow. They put a new one in. And that was the beginning of his end, more or less, which is okay. He didn't suffer. He was never in pain. That was the most amazing thing to me. The only time he said he hurt was they had to lift him in and out of the bed in a hoist, and it was when he would be repositioned. And once he settled in, he wouldn't hurt any longer. And it was because the bone where the tumor had been, they put in a rod, and it never really healed, okay? And so that's the only bit of pain that he had. And now I've watched people die and suffer from cancer before, and when he was diagnosed, I was like, oh God, he's really in for it. But you see, there's a lesson there, right? Because he wasn't. I thought because of what I had seen in the past, it was what I was going to see happen. There were so many lessons in his death for me. It's just a miracle that I got to see all of those, and then I draw those to me. So anyway, so he was in the hospital, and I was actually in Australia. My son lives in Australia, and I had a trip planned forever. So I was in Australia when I got phone calls, because I had his medical power of attorney, that he was going to go into hospice, because he was going to die. It was time for him to go. And the book, the copy that I had sent him, was supposed to get there on Saturday. The Saturday before he was going in, he ended up going into the hospital on that Sunday. And the post office was late with it, and it didn't get there until like Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember what day. And I was standing in the hotel room, and I remember looking at my husband, and I said, oh man, I said, I feel so bad. I'm okay with him dying. I know everything is perfectly the way it's supposed to be. I get all of this, but I'm just so sad that he didn't get to see this book that he edited and put so much of his heart and soul into. So I happened to talk to Karen. His minister called me to get information on him in the hospital. And I asked her, I said, listen, I said, I don't know what to do, but I have this, and I told her about the book, and I said, it's at the nursing home. And I said, is there any way you could go get, she said, no problem. I'll go pick up his mail and I'll bring it to him. So she went and picked the book up. So she brought it to him, and I get tears when I think about this. He got to hold it, okay? And she actually read to him from it as he passed away. What I did was I decided to release it on the day that I did his celebration of life. And that was one of the most probably joyful things I've ever done. And I know that sounds crazy, but putting together celebrating his life was just so wonderful, because I got to look back on all the wonderful people that he had in his life. I mean, he had like 4 ministers or spiritual leaders actually speak in his celebration for him. And we also put a lot of music in it, because he loved to play guitar. And, that was one thing that was important to him, and a great joy in his life were 2 things, books and music, okay? I had also wanted to share with you that at the moment of Ron's death, my stepsister-in-law and his pastor, Karen, were actually with him in the room. They were playing hymns, and she had read to him from the book. And both of them said that at the moment that his soul left the body, the room filled with light. I remember Janelle, who's my stepsister-in-law, said it's hard to explain, but you could tell that he wasn't alone. And both of them literally felt the presence of God. And that as his soul left, there were swirling lights of color above his body. And they both said it was such a beautiful, peaceful, loving passing that they were blessed to experience it. So I share that with you so that you know that when we leave this body, it doesn't have to be traumatic and struggle. We can choose to lay the body down. And when I spoke to him the day before he actually died, I remember I said to him, that it's time to go home. And he said, yes. And I said, you know what I mean by that? And he said, yes, I'm going home to God. So yeah, I just wanted you to understand and hear that part of it. And a friend of mine had told me that probably it was the rainbow body, which is something that Buddhists strive for. And I had connected with someone on LinkedIn who is a Tibetan Buddhist teacher, and I asked him if the swirling colors meant anything to him. And he said, yes, he manifested a rainbow body as he left. And what that means is that he probably spent many lifetimes in meditation, and that he consciously chose to leave and can consciously choose to come back. So I just wanted you to have that part of the story as well. So anyway, so I released it on Amazon on the day that I did his celebration of life. And it was #1 in its category, not just for like an hour or 2 hours, for 2 solid days and sometime after that. And I absolutely know that was because of him and his spirit and the beautiful wonder in this universe and the way things happen. So I just wanted to share with you the story of the book. And like I said, I'm the one who wrote sayings in it, but most of them I would say came from divine inspiration. And it's a wonderful, wonderful tool for you to use to get messages from your higher self. And this book was actually put together, from two people who understood A Course in Miracles. That's Ronnie and I, discovered A Course in Miracles together. So it's very much has the energy and the love of God, the Holy Spirit, and connecting to your divine self in this book. And I think when you look through it and you start using it for messages, and you can watch my YouTube videos, I draw a card every week. I had someone actually create cards for the different categories. The way the book is set up, there's 29 categories, chapters as they call it. But read the preface if you have the book. Read the preface, and there's also a beautiful prayer that will put you in the proper space, as it were, to receive the message. And then what you do is you say the prayer, you set your intention of what you want to think about, learn about, pay attention to, and then you open the book, and wherever your eyes fall, whichever one they fall on, that's your message. And then you can do with it what you want. You can journal about it. You can just think about it. It can be your mantra for the day. You can get a new message every day. You can get one once a week. You can get one that's going to be for the month. Whatever works for you. There is no right or wrong, right? It's for you. And this is a gift, I would say, from me, my brother, and the universe. So there you have it. That's my story about spiritual spice. Now go out and have a fabulous life just because you can.